At Walgreens, we know flu season can feel a little chaotic. So we're going to give you our flu info
in a meditation, keeping you calm, just like a certified Walgreens pharmacist will do if you're a little nervous. So walk in or schedule an appointment, and Walgreens will handle the rest.
That's the human kind of help. Walgreens.
Vaccine subject to availability. State, age, and health-related restrictions may apply.
Here for the Lowe's early Black Friday deals? You're right on time for some of our biggest savings. We're talking up to 50% off select major appliances, plus up to an extra 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. Holiday lights going up soon? Select ladders are up to 50% off right now. Get Black Friday prices without the Black Friday crowds. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 11/19. Selection varies by location. Select locations only. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Hi, and welcome to the Be Fierce and Try podcast. I'm your host, Jill Bartholomew, head coach and owner at Be Fierce Multisport. And I'm here with Thomas Skelton of Merge Multisport. So, Thomas, you've made repeat appearances here. If you want to introduce yourself for the folks who haven't heard you yet.
Sure, yeah. Thomas Skelton, the founder and head coach for Merge Multisport. And yeah, I think this is my third time here.
I think it's the third time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be more. So today we're going to be talking about the recent 70.3 World Championships that was in Marbella, Spain. We both raced on different days. I obviously did the women's race. You did the men's race. It was interesting to me. It was the very first time I've actually spectated a triathlon of this distance. So that was an interesting experience for me. But what do you think of the swim? Like I think we actually had fairly different swims, even though they were the same course.
Yeah, we had very different swims. I think we had very different days in general too, right? Whereas I think the wind was really the big differentiating factor between the men and the women's race, right?
Yeah, when I got there, I don't know when you showed up. I got there on Tuesday, and my first impression of the water, we got settled into the hotel room, went down to the water, check out, you transition, met a few folks that we know, and it was so angry. I got in and I think I swam like 400 yards and I said to someone, I'm like, if it's like this on race day, half the field is going to DNF and the other half is going to DNS. It was so angry, but it calmed down through the week. But, I feel like Friday was actually the flattest day.
Yeah, so we got there Wednesday afternoon, and with just everything going on, I did not get a chance to swim until Friday afternoon, and I got in for, I think it was about 1,000 yards, and the conditions were great. Like, it was super chill. I swam, basically 500 yards out and back, but race morning for y'all was an entirely different story. I mean, the thing that, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it picked up for us. Like I saw Friday and I'm like, hey, this is trending in the right direction, fingers crossed. And the next morning it was definitely rougher, and I'm in the old but not old enough crew. So we're the last start group, and it's like we always get the worst conditions, being in that last group to start as the sun comes up. The tides shift, we get a little bit more roughness and a little bit more current, I think, than the earlier groups do.
Yeah, y'all had the women's race had some pretty significant wind and kind of some chop and swells in the water as a result of that. I mean, I think the perfect example, if you look at, I think Lucy Charles swam like 25:02, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but that's a half distance swim, in a wetsuit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Kona, she swam 49 and change. So twice the distance, no wetsuit. And the conditions in Kona weren't great, I think, right? They weren't like super flat and chill. There was some action, right?
Kona was pretty rough, and it was kind of the same deal where it had been pretty flat all week.
Yeah.
And then on race morning, it picked up. There at Kona, there was a storm offshore apparently that was just dumping, and it was affecting the surface. And it got progressively worse through the day. But yeah, she was, I think, 2 minutes off of her record from 2023 at Kona.
Yeah, definitely slower conditions there. But then to swim slower for half the distance being wetsuit legal.
Right.
You kind of, as soon as I saw that time, I was like, oh, it's going to be a slower day. And then I started, seeing times of some girls that I knew that were racing. One of my girls who swam collegiately, and I saw her time at like 27 change, or I think, and I was like, she was probably about a minute and a half off of where she normally would be. So it was definitely a slower conditions for y'all. Whereas we had it, honestly, our conditions for the swim were as good as you could ask for.
Yeah, I would say I did virtually no training between Kona and Marbella, between travel and everything else. And I did the races down at Disney. My coach was unhappy with that, but I did them anyways. I do them every year. They're fun. Like, why not? And I even got in the pool once when I was down there. So no, like I swam a 40, which is pretty long for me. I was expecting like a 32. I'm not a super fast swimmer, but I'm not slow. And, I felt like it was slow. It was weird though. John, my husband, he was like in the VIP section that's like right there on the beach next to the start line. He was standing next to me and the app showed that I had already started. Yeah.
They did have some timing issues. And then things got corrected for some people as they started to go. Like someone might have a time that said 32 and some change, and then some point while they were out on the bike, I guess they got things synced up with the radio units on the transponders on the timing mats, and things kind of started to correct a little bit. But there was definitely some timing mat issues for some people for sure.
It seemed like the timing mat was like in front of the actual start. But that was a little weird. I did find it's like that first out, I could not see the buoys. We're like swimming straight into the sun. And I don't know if anybody has goggles that are that dark that are not welding goggles. It was so bright. And, on that survey that they sent afterwards, they're like, how about the swim? I'm like, well, they only used the big Roca buoys at the turns. And they use smaller buoys in between. And I felt like it was kind of hard to sight the smaller buoys because, like, even though they were like a normal distance apart with all the swells, you couldn't really see them until you're at least halfway there. And the ones in the second half were much further apart than the first half, which we had seen offshore. I think they may have added a couple for the men, but I'm not sure. You kind of go out, you make a left, you make a right, you make another right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then got like that long angular swim, that section. I think there was only like one or two buoys in like the probably 1,000-yard section, 800-yard section. I remember looking at it from offshore and being like, wow, that's really far apart. And then out there, it's like, where the hell is this buoy? I can't find the buoy. And you just keep swimming in the direction everybody else is swimming in, hoping someone can see it.
Yeah, I don't remember for us having any stretch where I was like, where is that buoy? And I mean, I know I've had races where you've seen that, or felt that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm swimming forever, and I have still not at the buoy, but I felt like I don't recall at that point. Yeah. So they
Yeah,
may have gotten an extra buoy or two out there.
yeah, that section, I was like, where is the next buoy? I can't see it. And then you get to the turn and it's fine because you're like, well, I can see the arch. So just swim towards the arch. All right. But for you, the swim was a little bit flatter. Was your time what you expected?
I swam like 30 minutes and I don't know, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, somewhere around in there, which is, to be perfectly honest, a pretty standard, nothing special, nothing bad, just a pretty standard 70.3 swim.
Now,
Yeah.
you've been working a lot on your swim this year, though. That's been a focus for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, not to go down the rabbit hole too much, but I have some issues in colder water with wetsuits and, asthma, and I don't take anything for it. And it seems like, the colder water, and I don't know, 43, 44, halves, and it's not like it's panic or new, but it gets hard. So I have to swim very easy. And so to swim that time while feeling like I was swimming very, very easy, yeah, I mean, the conditions were just really, really good for sure for us.
Yeah, I think we were comparing notes afterwards on the asthma thing. I've had asthma, diagnosed when I was like 2, and I'm on all sorts of medications for it. But like that shock of the cold plus the asthma / allergies, and you just kind of, it takes your breath away for a bit.
Yeah, for sure. It's annoying. I mean, trying to figure out how to manage that and deal with that in those, when you're in the water but it is just, it's just I don't know. I'm stubborn and stupid and don't do anything about it and I probably should. I was like you, I was diagnosed with asthma when I was a kid and I just thought it was like fat out of shape kid, right? That didn't exercise, but no, it's a
Yeah.
thing, I guess. I
Yeah,
should
it
do
is the
something about
thing.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm like, since they changed my medications to like the new stuff that's out there has been like game changing. It's like the only time now that I have a problem is generally in the water or if I'm in an Ironman running into the sea breeze. Like that still gets in my lungs and it's like it's hard to breathe. And of course I don't carry an inhaler with me on the run, which I should.
Yeah.
So you had a few athletes that competed. How did they do?
Yeah, I mean, I had 4 ladies that raced on Saturday, and they all did really, really, really well. 2 of them were coming off of Kona,
Hmm?
so this was, I mean, they were ready for it, but it was more of like a fun celebration, get to go and experience the race and everything. And they still did great. And then I had 2 others. This was kind of their final big race of the season, and yeah, one of them she had the fastest swim in her age group which
Nice.
was awesome. And then we had, I think she and I had gone out. She lives here locally, and we've done a lot of reps, like working on some of her descending skills. And she had a great bike, which I was happy with. And, the other one lives in Texas, somewhere super flat, no chance for a lot of climbing or descending. And, we've done some training specific to try and simulate some climbing and prepare for that. But she descended like a champ. I was so proud. And they all executed really great runs based for their fitness, which was, as a coach, it's all you can ask. It was a great day for sure.
So speaking of descending, let's talk about the bike.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't heard much about the men's bike, but feel like they're probably pretty different conditions, but maybe not. Um, you know, at once you get out of, I mean, for the viewers, right? Big was it 1,000 foot, maybe 1,200 feet climb up, and then we turn off to ocean down a bit, and then it's like the long kind of climb out of there. And then we get to the top, and you're like, oh, there's some downhill. We earned this. And then I don't know about you, I was going like 50 some odd miles an hour, and bam, as soon as the trees ended, bam, I get smacked in the right side with a gust of wind that I heard the gusts were over 40 miles an hour. Got blown across 2 lanes on the highway. Luckily, it was 3 lanes across. And like for the rest of those downhills, I was a little, maybe not quite as aggressive going down after that. Like, a little bit more aware of the wind potential until it's like, okay, we're good with the wind. Now let's speed up.
Yeah, I mean, so I went at my wave started at 8 o'clock in the men's 40-44. So I had like prime start time, right?
Yeah.
We didn't really have bad wind. I mean, I remember so I rode the course Thursday because I
Hmm.
wanted to ride it and get to see, because I figured a little bit of fatigue compared to understanding the descents, knowing where you can press was, from like a
Yeah.
technical aspect, totally worth it. I don't mind a little bit of like, maybe I lose a minute or two from being tired or having some fatigue still in my legs, but make up 5 to 7 minutes from knowing the course, right? So when I rode it Thursday, there were a lot of cars and there was a lot of wind, and I was like, this is sketch. But for us, race morning, like the first couple miles out, pretty chill. Going up the climb, I mean, you could feel like a little bit of wind, but never got bad. But definitely where it kind of starts going down the backside from Ohen, like definitely the wind started to pick up there, but we didn't have, I mean, again, watching the live coverage, you could see Lucy behind Taylor at one point, a big gust, and, she kind of, it sways around and back into it. And we didn't have any of that until kind of the main descent kind of
Oh,
back into
really?
town. Yeah. But no,
So you made it. So you guys made it like the first 40 plus miles without big Gus.
it had picked up, but we didn't really have any, not that I don't recall any like major gusts until maybe kind of somewhere around that mark. Yeah. Definitely going down. I mean, I don't know, somewhere, I think 52.5, 53 miles an hour, somewhere around
Yeah.
in there. And so, definitely felt some wind in the crosswinds, some crosswinds coming down back into town, but I did not feel like it was anywhere near as bad as when I rode the course Thursday. But again, it was a closed course, no cars, so we were wide open with room to work.
So you get to the top after the climb out of ocean. And you have like it kind of comes downhill, and then you before the out and back was the maybe it's after the out and back. You get to that first bridge that's like over Big Canyon. That was where like the first
Yeah.
big gust was. And I later noticed that like before those areas, there's a sign that tells you how strong the gusts are. It's like a digital sign that I can't read Spanish, but I read it enough to figure out what the sign meant. And, so after that, you kind of had an idea coming up to it. But yeah, every one of those like, overpasses, we were just getting pummeled with wind. People were getting blown all over the road.
It picked up later in the day for us. Like, I mean, I remember standing on the beach after finishing and like we're taking some pictures with friends and it was windy as can be for us
Yeah,
then, but
you
like it
you
was
guys had a lot of wind on the run.
I was done by that point though, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we were standing at the finish line watching the surf really grew in the wind for the
Yeah,
men's
for
race.
sure.
But yeah. But the descending, is kind of the same commentary as with Nice last year, right? Is if you don't know how to do you don't know turns, you're not gonna have fun on this course.
Yeah. And it's not even a very technically challenging course from a descending perspective,
Mhm.
right? It's pretty open. They're wide sweeping turns, like nothing crazy, I didn't think.
I felt the same way, but I heard a lot of folks, men and women, talking about how technical it was coming down. And I really didn't think it was like going some of those the technical sections we were climbing on the bike, the turns coming down when we were going at speed, I thought were more sweeping, easy turns. You can keep hold a lot of speed through them. But again, you need to know how to make your bike turn.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Couldn't be more different than Kona 3 weeks beforehand, though, which is non-technical, straight pedal, turn, straight pedal, finish.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
But
I thought it was a great course. I would love to see, it be the standard that world championship courses have significantly more climbing and descending kinda like that. I thought it was awesome.
I liked going from in such a relatively short period of time. I think next year it's reversed, right? I think the half is a couple weeks or a month before the full next year. But I liked, kind of the difference in the two courses, right? Kona's hard because it's hot and windy, but mostly because it's hot. And this was not hot. It seemed like it was windy for some and not for others. The water was cold. And all the folks who are out there like, "Oh, I love this temperature." I'm like, "Keep that inside your head, please."
Yeah. Shut your mouth when you're talking to me about that water temperature.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, "I'm so happy for you that you love water that's 62 degrees, but I don't."
No, nope.
I'm like a couple of degrees below that and people start turning blue. I did 70.3 in the Baltimore Harbor a couple of years ago, and I was like blue coming out of that water. And I was like, I think that was like 58 or 59. It's not that it wasn't that far off from this. And I was worried in the water, and like I was sitting there before the swim, like dumping bottles of water down my wetsuit, trying to adjust to the colder temperature. And still when you get in, it's still a shock.
Yeah, I don't like swimming where I'm gonna come out looking like Papa Smurf,
Why not?
being blue because it's cold.
I got
Blue.
what you meant.
So I was making sure.
No, I
I just don't
understood
I
what
just
you
don't
meant.
I just don't like the cold water. I really don't. It's all good, but there's so many beautiful races that we have where the water's cold. It's just kinda gotta deal with it.
Well, it's fine. You live quite a bit south of me, right? You're in North Carolina, I think.
South Carolina
South
now, back in
Carolina,
South Carolina, yeah.
even further south. And up here in Philadelphia area, we've got a lot of people who are cold water swimmers. Go out and swim in Baltimore, swim in New York, swim the rivers here, and it's like I love that for you.
For you, not for me. Good on you.
Yes, and I'm from upstate New York, and I'm like, no, we did the polar bear plunge stuff growing up in Lake George. And it's like, nope, good. You do that. I don't want to. It's too cold.
Yep. Yep. Hard pass. It's a no for me, dog.
Yeah. So can we talk about transition? So T1 was such a long run. I felt you get out and like it's sandy. They didn't even like make an attempt to cover the sand, and there was nothing to like wash the sand off with. I did appreciate the sprayer coming out, like the like attempt of getting the salt off, but it looked more like a mister, like you would have like at a theme park to cool you down, instead of like like Kona. Other races have like hoses hanging to wash yourself off. No. I used the wetsuit strippers, peelers, whatever the politically correct term is these days. And so my whole back was covered with sand too for the whole ride, I think.
I did not. I'm not normally a wetsuit stripper person. Yeah, I felt like, so I mean, literally, like I had just my helmet in my transition bag.
Uh-huh.
So the only thing I had to do was take my helmet out of the bag, put it on, take my wetsuit swim cap goggles, shove it into my bag, give it to somebody, and go. Right? My shoes were on my bike. Everything was ready. I ran over to my bike. I grabbed it. And then I look at the time afterwards. I don't know. It was over 3 minutes in transition. And I was like, how was I in there for that long? It's just so long. Yeah. But it was good. I mean, everybody had to do it.
Yeah, I think mine was like 5:02. I had my shoes and my helmet were in my bag. My goal for next year is for it to be just my helmet, but I haven't gotten comfortable yet with mounting and then putting my feet in the shoes. But yeah, the run out, and it's so long. At one point, I stopped because I felt like I must have run past my bike. And I didn't, because, like the numbering was a little confusing because first, like the racks were super long with no breaks in between. And I'm not used to that. Like usually there's more breaks. I think there was only one break. And it was the same sequence on both sides of the rack because normally it's like even odds, left and right. And this was like sequential. And mine was like 2, 6, 5, 4, 4, 5. And the exact same number, except 2-5 was on the other side of the rack, or 2-4 or something. And I kept thinking I was running down the wrong aisle and that I had run past my bike. But nope, I was in the right aisle and I had not yet run past my bike. And you've seen my bike. Like, it's kind of hard to miss, right? It's like, it's hard to run past my bike. It's kind of bright.
Yeah. Yeah, it stands out for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, the run out was long. I did like your TikTok video shaming me for holding the cockpit instead of holding the seat. Thank you very much for that.
Listen, that was not targeted specifically in a one person, but more at the masses.
Yep. No, I felt like that was specifically talking to me.
But no, this is the thing that, like, and you got to see it on Sunday. Like, I love getting to spectate races because, I think as a coach, you get to see these things. The number of times I saw some people like almost tripping over their own feet or hitting their bike pedal because they're trying to hold their base bars as they're running out of transition and getting squirrely. And it's like, it's kind of fun because you see those things and you see like, oh, wow, I can see why they're making it. It's obvious that they're working much harder than they should be.
Yeah, I run holding my BTA. It's the highest point in the bike. But yeah, no, you're right. Spectating, it was interesting for me watching the men. First, like the percentage of guys who had their shoes on their bike, I feel without any empirical data at all, is much higher percentage than the women. I feel like I see most women, not all, most putting their shoes on in transition. But the number of guys who didn't know how to mount their bike without putting their feet in their shoes first was surprising. It's like you have your shoes attached to your bike and you stand there holding on to the rail, putting your feet in your shoes while your butt is on your bike. So all they did was move their transition time to the other side of the mountain line.
Yep, absolutely. And I, where I was, it got a little bit crowded. You got a funny video and I was in and I'm a little bit wobbly because there was another guy. I thought he was trying to come over and I was like, I can't really pedal. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But yeah, I think, it's the kind of thing where if you're going to do that, you have to you don't put your feet in your shoes at the mountain line. You put your feet on top of your shoes, you start pedaling and you get up some speed. and then you take a second where it's flat and you put a foot in, and then do that on the other side too, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I did see a couple of people appear to do their full transition in front of the mountain lion, which I thought was strange. Yeah, one guy, kind of middle-aged dude, he ran out like bat out of hell, and he then proceeded to bend over, put his 2 shoes on, put his helmet on, which was not yet on, which I feel like is a disqualification waiting to happen based on the rules, and then proceeded to have what appeared to be a 3-course breakfast.
He's got like eggs, a croissant, an espresso, and he's just
Yeah,
taking his
yeah.
time.
Yeah, it was the longest I mean, we were there for like an hour watching the men mount, because I think there were like 5 guys that we were watching out for. And, they were in various age groups. I think you were one of the early ones, and, we were watching for Joe, Tony Washington, and a few others, who were in the later age groups. And, so we were there for like an hour watching guys kind of, make their way through. And in that hour, this guy took the cake for the longest bike mount. He may have had the shortest transition, but the longest bike mount.
He's like, I'm gonna win something on the day.
Right, right. And I didn't look at the splits, but I know there were a lot of timing mats on the course. I always find it interesting. I never noticed them, especially on the bike. I never noticed them.
Yeah.
And then John's like, yeah, they were like every half mile. I'm like, what? Where?
There were, I feel like I don't think I've ever seen a bike course for a half that had that many timing
No,
mats. Like,
no.
it was
I mean,
insane, the
right.
splits you'd get.
Yeah, the fulls usually have a lot, but the halves, I mean, you're usually lucky if you get like every 5 miles or so.
Yeah, no, there were so many timing mats. I don't remember seeing them on the course, but I do remember like when we were tracking the women's race, like, okay, here's another split and another split and another split, and they just kept coming,
Yeah,
which was great. I
yeah.
loved it. I thought it was awesome.
I'll be honest, I had to mute my phone because it was like ding, ding. I had like 10 or 12 athletes I was following on the men's race. It's like ding, 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 ding the whole time. It was, yeah, crazy. But I mean, it's good for the spectators because they know where their athlete is. And it seemed like early on there's quite a bit of delay, but towards the end, it seemed like they had kind of resolved that.
Yeah, I think everything seemed good that I could tell from the timing mats.
Well, you were out racing, so it's kind
Oh
of
yeah, 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 for sure. I thought I was in general, I was thinking like for the women's day, but yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I had no idea if there were timing issues.
yeah. I have no
That's why my
idea.
bike was so slow. It was there was a mat issue. I was 20 minutes faster than what my actual time was.
Oh, amazing! Because here I
Yeah,
was thinking that the distance between the start mat and the finish mat was fixed.
I think you might be right.
I didn't know it was variable.
You might be right.
They moved it just for you.
Just for me.
They add an extra one with a few more turns.
Some Something like that.
Yeah.
One thing that I did think that was really good that they did on speaking of the bike course was normally three aid stations on a 70.3 is pretty standard. But
Mhm.
being longer, having the fourth aid station, I thought, given that it was taking everybody longer on that course, I thought was really nice. It was solid.
Yeah, I think I mean, the whole course was basically uphill, but I feel like with all the climbing, having the extra one was good. Although for my own, I didn't need the extra one because, I plan by the hour on this lately. It seems to be working out better for me, planning by the hour instead of by the distance. I did not appreciate that 2 of them were on fairly significant uphill grades. And I saw people stopping, and I'm like, good luck. You have to get started back up that hill.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's pretty common that they're on like slight uphills so that people have to go a little
Yeah.
bit slower. But that course, I mean, there was so much climbing. It was either, yeah, a fast and flat section or it was downhill, which wouldn't work, or it was a decent uphill.
I
That's what
mean,
most of them were.
there really wasn't much in the way of flat outside of town on this. And even the
Yep.
flats weren't flat. They were all false flats.
Yeah.
I did not appreciate the single file section. I did not see a need for it to be single file.
So I did not see like the no passing on the highway segment.
Yep.
I did not see the no passing sign until we got to the sign that said no passing zone ended. I didn't pass anybody in there, but it was just because of how it worked out. So I knew coming back it was a no passing section. But yeah, I felt like it was decently wide there and coned off, but maybe
Yeah.
there were times that could have been busier.
Yeah. I didn't f I didn't see a need for it to be because I mean, it was a full lane's width, basically. Maybe not quite a full lane's width, but it was basically a lane's width, and I understand, you've got traffic moving at highway speeds on the other side of the barricade, so I suppose if someone fell, they could fall into traffic, but they had, like, full height cattle chute barricades, so it doesn't seem likely that would happen, but on the way out, I didn't really take too much issue with it because, it did slow me down a little bit. The it's still pretty wide the cyclists were still pretty widely spaced at that point. But coming back, feel like I ended up so, I mean, in the later age groups, it's kinda like how many people we're now we've now passed 6 age groups worth of people, and I feel like I was kinda at the tail of the, like, 18 to 24 group or 4 to 25 group, one of the younger groups, and they were so slow through that. I had to actually put my brakes on twice going through that section, and I did not pedal, like, the entire length of it. So that I found kind of annoying, and you're, like, looking around, you're like, there's so much space here, like, it'd be so easy to just pass these people. But
Yeah,
no, no.
absolutely. I think but it did come up like coming back into town. You came back down that section, you came up, and I feel like there's a roundabout that you
Mhm.
got to right at the end of it where there's a pretty sharp turn around the roundabout and then back to the other direction. And so maybe it was trying to prevent people from getting too crammed up and sketching out around those. Who knows? But yeah,
Maybe.
I would not. Yeah, I saw no need for it.
I loved the roundabouts
Yeah,
because when I pre-rode, I only pre-rode to Ojan and back, which in retrospect, I agree with you, like, I would have rathered have the little bit of fatigue in my legs and ridden the whole course. I probably would have been maybe 15 minutes faster on the bike had I done that.
you can learn a lot.
Yeah, yeah, and I did that at Kona, I've done it at other races, and it's always been valuable, but, not getting there till Tuesday and not getting my bike until basically Wednesday, I was like, "Do I really wanna take this much load?" And my race was the day before yours,
Yep.
and I made the choice not to, which, like, if I was to do it again, I would do it. But, I love
That
roundabout, and, I remember when we pre-rode it, down there in the town section, there was one where you come in pretty hot, and I remember saying out loud to the person actually, I think it might have been Michelle, who was riding next to me, I was like, "There's absolutely going to be people who fall at this roundabout."
Did anybody? Do you know? I mean, I don't know that I saw,
I
but
don't know. Actually,
yeah,
no, there was. I heard on the interwebs, uh, I heard on the Facebook forums, at least one case of someone who left in an ambulance from one of those roundabouts.
see that.
But, yeah, coming downhill, they were pretty, aggressive at telling us to slow down.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job.
They did too good a job. I'm like, "I don't wanna slow down.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah,
roundabout."
one thing on the roundabouts that I thought I don't wanna say it was a miss, but they did a lot of times they had, like, the 400 meters to the aid station, 200 meters to the aid station, something
Yes.
along those lines, right? And, watching the race from the day before, I did notice that as the women were coming in at the end of the bike, they basically went down onto that bridge, up, hit that roundabout right-hand turn, and then boom, the dismount line was, like, right there. And I think a
Yes.
lot of people, you didn't have time to be able to see that dismount, and then you had to get off and run down that hill, right? So to be able to dismount and know like timing of when to dismount, to be able to actually get your feet out of the shoes, because it made sense to dismount, leaving your shoes on the bike and
Mhm,
running barefoot. But I think I
mhm.
saw a lot of people on the women's race Saturday kind of snuck up on them for that dismount line.
Well, the problem with the dismount line was you could not see under that bridge, and the road quality was not great under the bridge, and they did have it marked, but if you
Yeah,
had a tinted visor, which everybody has a tinted visor or sunglasses, you couldn't see it, and there were no lights, and the dismount line was, like, right on the other side of it, you know?
yeah. Yeah,
But that
it came up pretty quick.
that T2 transition though, I don't know. What were your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think, it starts with that dismount, and I feel like thankfully I did know that it was coming, and I had my feet out of the shoes before even getting to that bridge. So it was probably one of my like cleanest and smoothest dismounts of the year. So that was like, I was like super stoked about that, and it did set up, but I was, yeah, it was, I think where I was, like I was, 350 was my number. So I was like the first row so I ran in, had to go all the way, and it was just on the wall all the way to the left. And so it really wasn't that bad. Thankfully, kind of figured out the flow of it the day before, because it was like for me, ran in a transition all the way down, back all the way across, around the corner, get your bag, around the corner to where you could sit down and change, and then out around another corner. It was just a lot of like it was just yeah, it was a maze. I was waiting for a minotaur to come out and kind of come
Yeah.
after me, right? I was in the I don't know, whatever it's called, the labyrinth.
Yeah, it was the first time I'd done a transition that was in a parking garage. And I thought there are only, well, aside from the complete and utter lack of toilets on the bike course, the run course, or in transition,
Or
which,
race morning.
or race morning, which you can talk about in a second. I think there was two big misses in my mind. One, those racks had no gap in them. If you ran down the wrong aisle, you were either ducking or turning your butt around to go
Yeah.
down the correct aisle. Like I had spent quite a bit of time scoping it out the day before when we dropped off the bikes, because I was like, you're not going to go down the wrong aisle. You're not going to go down the wrong aisle. But the numbering was different than in T1. And I'm like, if the numbering had been the same, I think that would have been so much more helpful. Because like in T1, I was in aisle N. And I remember like it was N right. I'm like, okay, just run on the right side of rack N. But I was in aisle G in T2. And it's like, G left, N right. You have to remember both of those. I almost wrote it down on my hand.
Yeah, I felt like, and this is silly, but like New Zealand or and I don't know why I think there's plenty of other races where there's bike handlers, right, to be able to hand off your bike too, which is
Yeah.
always nice. I know it's a lot of extra volunteers, but I think it can keep things cleaner and a little more organized, but you can't do anything about that. Thankfully, we just I walk through it a couple times and try and figure it out, because it was definitely a little bit all over the place.
Yeah. I just remember I was on down row G next to the emergency exit. That was how I remembered it. But no,
Yeah.
I agree. Neither of the world championships this year had bike handlers.
Yep. Yep.
I
Which
like
was
that. Lake
Yeah.
Placid, you give them your bike and go.
New Zealand did last year, and I thought it was really nice. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole on that, but especially for the women, because they were able to hand off the bikes. The bike handlers took the bikes and they put it in a special spot in the back of transition, so that they were all organized back there, so that when the men came, midday to rack their bikes, there wasn't this like shuffling of people all over the place. It was the smoothest, like women picking up their stuff, men dropping off their stuff, that you could have imagined last year in New Zealand. It was unbelievably good. Something I don't know that it's worth talking about. We could take a minute and talk about the banquet, the welcome banquet. Maybe we shouldn't.
Maybe we should.
Maybe we should. I think we should.
Maybe we should. I
We'll save
mean,
the run course for the end, maybe.
yeah, save the run course for the end. There's so much here. I mean, let's start with there was a welcome banquet.
There was
It
a
was
welcome banquet.
more like a family picnic. That was where they ended up refunding the admission price to everyone who paid cash for it. I don't think Ironman is good at a lot of things. Giving money back is not one of them.
I was shocked. It was the right call, but I
It
was shocked.
It was the right call, and it speaks to like how bad it was.
But
Because I
yeah,
think I think people were still on the bus coming back when that email came in. Like it was pretty quick.
it was. I think it was. So I guess for people that weren't there, um, so for what it's worth, I felt really bad, because the food in New Zealand last year, not only was the food unbelievable, there was tons of it, and lots of space too, right? I think people could have gone back for second and thirds, and had plenty of food, and I don't think it was even close to running out. Whereas here it was like I think there was definitely not enough food for everybody that went to even get like a first plate. And I think when we got there, it was like rolls, dry rolls, and like a few dregs of like some chickpeas that were like garbanzo beans and some sort of ambiguous meat, like that you were scraping out of the thing, trying to figure it out, and then some pudding cups.
Yeah, I mean, we sat in the VIP section, and the only difference I think in the food is that ours was presented more nicely. It was the same food. I saw rumors out there that it was better food or different. It's like it wasn't. It was the same stuff. It's like 2/3 of it was cold. The stuff that was heated was there wasn't much of it. It was like
Yeah.
pasta of some sort.
Yeah, I think we missed some noodles. I don't know. It was definitely a miss for sure.
And there's usually like beer and alcohol options, and there wasn't any.
I don't remember. I don't remember from last year, but yeah, I felt really stupid as a coach because I was telling my athletes like, y'all, the food was so good at New Zealand last year. Like, we want to go to this, and then they came and they were like, we're like, yeah, we need to go get some actual food because this is not good. It's
And it
like we didn't even,
normally is. Yeah, we did the same
yeah,
thing. We went back and got a pizza.
we
But I
dipped.
mean, the food is usually pretty good. I mean, it's never awesome, but it's usually pretty good. And, I've never once gone to one of these banquets, gotten back to the hotel and been like, John, we need to find food now. And that's what happened. We both we're like, we're starving.
I think someone was like Mayday 911, like we need to go to the store and get whatever pudding cups and like a thing of like these little mini Ritz crackers. Like they came out with a pallet. I guess they went to
But
like
today,
the market and yeah, brought out like they had a bunch of like just the plastic pudding cups, and then like these big things of like they look like little mini Ritz crackers. And it was like, wow, this is where this is where we are right now. This is not a good look. I mean,
yeah,
first world problems, I guess, but
I guess. I mean, on the other hand, these are expensive races. Like, and World Championship is like that much more expensive than a regular
yeah.
race,
Yeah.
right? Like these are not cheap races. And you've got theoretically the top 2,500 women and 3,500 women from around the world, to the top 6,000 to 7,000 triathletes in the middle distance sport, and this is what you gave them to eat.
And these are people that are all doing 3, 4, 5 races a year, right?
Yeah.
Like they're spending a lot of money with Ironman as a company. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a big miss. So
and
I don't know we'll go in Nice next year.
well, I don't know. I did Nice last year, and I enjoyed Nice. And the
Food?
food was not bad. The
Okay.
food was not bad. It was not this, but I bet next year after this fiasco, someone is paying more attention to what food comes out.
I'll bet you're right. I
Yeah,
would not be surprised.
I would not be surprised. The other miss, which I think was more serious than the food at the banquet. I mean, the show itself was pretty good though. Like it wasn't bad, but the lack of toilets anywhere.
God.
Not at Swim Start, there wasn't any. I mean, I guess there was a couple. There was none on the bike course. There was none on the run course. Like people were going into the public toilets and the underground toilets in the parking garages along the run course and just sitting on guardrails to pee. It was bad.
Remember, so I mean, I don't usually like if I have to pee on the bike, I just pee on the bike while riding, right? But and I don't remember seeing many on the run course. I just remember like
Peeing's
one of
not
my
usually the problem.
yeah, for sure. Thankfully, that's not normally number two is not normally a race day issue for me, but you never know. But race morning, I mean, and they were weird porta potties, and I don't want to. We don't get like most of our porta potties in the U.S. like it's just a hole, right?
Yeah.
Like and it's open, and these porta potties had like a ramp in the back from the back of it to like a little hole up front, and it looks like it was designed for like everything to hit it and slide down in. I don't know if you got a good look at this. I did because unfortunately, and so yeah, instead of just having a normal hole in it, like there's like a much smaller hole in all of them. So what would happen, and what I think we saw happening was that people were going and things were not going down. They
Yeah.
were just sitting in the bowl, and
Well,
it just
I
it
mean,
got bad.
these were the type though that like there was like a handle or a foot thing where you had to like flush it. And I think that's a difference too, is like if you don't do that, then you're leaving your stuff for
Stuff
the next
there.
person
Yeah,
very close.
they were interesting, and they, when I was in line for, like, the last time pre-race, race morning, saw like, usually bring toilet paper with me because the last thing you wanna do is get in there and have no toilet paper, but thankfully, a guy was they had all the porta potties had run out of toilet paper, and there was a guy there at, like, I don't know, whatever, 7:15, 7:20, and he's, like, putting another roll of toilet paper in front of all of the porta potties, the few porta potties at the swim start.
Well, that's
So
nice.
that was at least nice, but yeah, they were not they were interesting. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
The ones that were
interesting.
there.
The ones that were there. Although I heard that the ones in the parking garages were quite clean. I'm like, I didn't even think, I'm like, I just had to pee. It was
Yeah.
fine. But like, if you need to go number two, like that was a
God
bad
bless you.
race. That was a bad race to have gastrointestinal problems.
God bless you. Yeah, absolutely. It was bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope you didn't try new fueling on race day in this race.
Yeah, right? If you did, I hate that for you, and maybe you won't, make that mistake again in the future.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, I definitely came across a few women who were waddling, trying to find a place. But I mean, and there wasn't any at the finish line either.
There weren't. I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you had to walk back through the, like, vendor area, expo to
Right.
get out, and I don't think there were any in there.
But I mean, overall, I think the courses were good, but I mean, the support I think needed some help. The aid stations were fine. They were shorter than we're used to, but I think they were fine.
They
But
were quick, for sure, but they
yeah,
were good.
I went to pull out on the bike. I carried two bottles, one front, one rear, and I went to pull the bottle in the rear out, toss it because I wanted one of the precision bottles.
Everybody did. Those were awesome.
Yeah, I got one last year at Nice, and I wanted the one this year. And the one this year was cool. It had like palm trees on it, and the aid station was so short, I didn't have time to pull it out, throw it, and grab another one. I was very disappointed in that. But
Well,
then I heard in transition, a lot of people had their bottles stolen off their bikes.
so I made a very intentional effort. Like when I had one of my bottles, I knew I was going to throw away because I was like, yeah, like they were like, yeah, we're going to be giving them out on course. You can't buy them. I was like, cool, I'm going to get one. Right.
Yeah,
And I did. And then, of course, like we're packing up bikes, and I found out one of my athletes, like hers, got stolen she had gotten one out there, and it got stolen in transition. So I mean, of course, like as a coach, I'm like, I'm gonna give you my bottle, right? Like I want that bottle, but like whatever. Like I'd rather her have it. But definitely, it was a little disappointing to see that like those were really pretty rad bottles.
they
Um,
were. And it was disappointing. Yeah, I've never. So, I mean, you've done more races than I have, but I'm no stranger to Ironman races. I've never heard of bottles, computers, other things being stolen off of bikes until this
Cozum-
race.
Cozumel a couple years ago, I'd heard some things. I don't remember what year that was in Cozumel. Trying to see if my wife remembers when some stuff got stolen, like by computers. Do you remember that? I think that was when it was still in the parking garage underneath the Mega. But so that's the only time I'd seen that. But yeah, like bike computers and
Yeah, I
water
saw
bottles.
one woman, she said her bike computer was stolen between the time that she set her bike up in the morning and the time she got out of the swim. I was like, that's terrible. I've never seen that before. The bottles, okay, it happens, but the amount that it happened,
It
like
happened enough to where I think like it was significant for sure. And I think um I
makes you
saw
wonder
where
if it was athletes or other people.
yeah, I don't know. I'd hope I would honestly hope it would be athletes, but then I would hope security would be good enough, that that's not a thing to worry about. Yeah, so all that to be said, don't leave your bike computer on if you can avoid it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's just a really I don't think you do. It's just a really unfortunate
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. If you're gonna steal my bike computer, do it after everything's uploaded, please.
Yeah, just let me get the file. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah,
I just want the
yeah,
data.
right, right.
Yeah,
My bike insurance will cover the computer. That said, please don't steal people's computers.
correct.
Okay, so the run course.
Yeah, let's talk about that run course. What do you think about it?
I liked the course, but I did not like a couple things about it. Three things. One is there was about mile and a half, 2 mile section that was unpaved. It had been advertised as being hard packed, but it wasn't. It was sand, right? It was packed sand, but it was still
Yeah, yeah.
sand. So I didn't really appreciate that. I don't like running on sand in general. We have some races down here in Philadelphia that tend to end on sand or run across the beach, and not my favorite thing to do. And it affects your selection in shoe potentially too. Because, I mean, if you're using a road race shoe, you have no traction. The other is the turns. There were several switchback turns, like 180-degree tight turns. Actually, the bike had several too. The bike had three switchbacks? At least two.
There are definitely the two
There's at least
U-turns.
two on the back, on
Yeah.
the bike. And then the run had the two lighthouses. So
There was
I,
the two lighthouses, there was a U-turn at, like, the little Hoka area. So
yes,
you had at least 6
at least, right.
U-turns
There's at
between
least
the
three
2
per lap.
lighthouses twice. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing was that I had like mixed feelings on this. The ramps that went up and over, I thought it was pretty cool. These races where they have the stairways that have the bridges that go over the course. I generally am like, oh, that's cool. It reminds me of like F1. I'm like, that's cool. We're special. But I don't know. I didn't really like running up that. And the the suspension bridge that we ran over, the red bridge.
Yes.
Yeah. So did you notice that the planks on the bridge went in the direction of travel instead of perpendicular like they're supposed to? So those boards, some of them, like a boardwalk, were not secured so well. And I managed to find one of those. I had landed like kind of on the edge of one. The board shifted and I kind of twisted my ankle a little bit, more rolled my ankle a little bit. Luckily, I don't think I did anything. My ankle was actually quite sore it's still a little sore, but I finished the race. It didn't affect my race. But I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Because I don't think, like here, I don't even think that would pass code.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the thing is, so as a whole, overall, I really liked the run course
Yeah.
because I think for me, I like energy and I like getting to see people, and I feel like I saw my
Mhm.
wife, my athletes, the spouses that were there supporting. I feel like I saw them 97 times on that run course, right? And so
It was a good run course for spectators,
absolutely.
but only half of it was.
Yeah. So, you got a lot of turns to be able to make it compact enough. And I think the hardest thing about the course was because you had mixed terrain, right? You had the
Hmm.
bridges, you had some and there was also another U-turn when you came off of that bridge. You went down a little ways and then made another
Yes.
U-turn. So really you had 8 U-turns.
Yeah.
And so with 8 U-turns surfaces, right, between the jetty, the sandy area, of some kind of rocky areas, road, it was not a course that made it easy to find rhythm and to settle in. Like New Zealand last year, I felt like, you basically had out and back, you had U-turns at the
Yeah.
ends. And yeah, you had some hills and a couple little bit, but there wasn't that much. So consequently, you also didn't see people quite as much on that course.
But it was a more interesting course than others that we've done.
I mean, I thought it was I enjoyed the course. It was challenging because of the fact that it was hard to get into a rhythm, or
Mhm.
I felt like personally for me it was. But the energy on the course was awesome.
Yeah. And I actually liked running out on the jetty, minus the 2 U-turns, which the second loop, I was like, fuck it. If I lose 10 seconds because I'm slow on this one, then so be it.
So be it. Yeah.
Instead of my feet falling out of my shoes again. I did think it was interesting. I was not expecting them to have an aid station on the jetty.
The water aids, yeah, there was just
Yeah.
water, but it was still, yeah, there was still,
It was just water, but it was in wax covered paper cups. So
yeah.
I'm like, if they were paper, I'm like, okay, those are biodegradable. But the second they put wax on it, not as much. But no, I thought they did a good job with that. I liked some of the photos that showed up afterwards in that section too. They were kind of pretty.
Yeah, they were cool. definitely.
Yeah. But it is quite the juxtaposition of like all of the athletes out there sweating, sunburnt, and then the billion-dollar yachts that are off to the right and the Mediterranean buildings going up the side of the hill there. So I
Yeah,
thought
for sure.
it was quite a sight. The highway on the backstretch
Yes.
was very empty though. It was like,
Yes. You came up, you went up the little hill, over the
yeah,
highway on the little bridge, and then you came down the ramp onto it. And that stretch was definitely that was probably I mean, I felt at least for us, there were people out on the sidewalks cheering and yelling a good little bit,
yeah, it
but
seemed
not
like
like in town.
right. Yeah, as we got closer to town it picked up, but I would say from the time we got on the sandy stretch and then you go up the sandy stretch and some
Yep.
turns,
Yep.
went through like some new construction areas, over the little bridge, which seemed unnecessary. And I thought that was a little weird. Like we could just run on the road. It took up the same amount of space. Just put some cones
Yeah.
down. Um, but yeah, it seemed like in the 6.5 mile loop, that 5K of it was pretty fun and exciting with lots of support, and 5K of it was very much in your head.
For sure. Definitely. I think the nice thing, the second loop, there were more people out there when I got over there. So it was at least nice to kind
Yeah.
of, have a couple people pass a couple people, try and give a couple little fist bumps and talk to people. And so to help get through that section for sure.
Well, yeah, and you were one of the early age groups, so I mean, it makes sense that on your second loop there'd be a lot more people out there. The later age groups have the opposite problem of like the first loop is very well supported, a lot of spectators, and the second loop everyone's at the finish line
Yep, absolutely.
waiting for their athlete. But overall, I think it was a good course. A lot of nitpicking.
Can we talk about how awesome having a DJ on the run course was? I wish it was on more of the course. Like when you came off you went up over the bridge, the Hoka section there, like
Yeah,
having a DJ there just blasting music for 8 hours each day. Like I thought he crushed it.
he did.
It was a vibe for sure.
I loved all the Hoka people that were out there giving people shit who weren't wearing Hoka shoes.
It was awesome. It was awesome. It was really good.
It
Yeah.
was. No, I thought it was I thought it was a lot of fun. I love doing races that are in places I've never been before. And I've never been to Spain. Certainly not Marbella. I thought it was fun.
Yeah. I loved it. I mean, it was my first trip to Europe too.
Really?
So, yeah, I'd never been to Europe at all. So it was super fun. I liked the course, obviously. I mean, I think it would be a miss to not talk about take just a quick second to talk about some of the travel challenges and logistics that people had with
Oh yeah,
airports.
we have to. I don't know anyone who did not have some travel issue of some sort.
I would say, well, my wife got a little sick on one of our small planes and we had to make some changes. But besides that, I got very lucky with my bike luggage. Did not lose anything. My bike was with me the entire way there and the entire way home. No issues, which was a miracle, it seems.
I feel like you're in the minority on that.
Absolutely.
So I felt like I was on the lucky side as well. All of our bags made it with us on both directions. My bike did not make the layover in Heathrow from Philly to the flight. So we flew Philadelphia to Heathrow and then Heathrow to Malaga. It did not make that layover. I was not super surprised that it missed it because by the time we had gotten off the plane, made it through security at Heathrow, and then to the gate, they had started boarding. So it was very short layover, even though on paper it was 90 minutes, which should have been more than enough time. But it wasn't. Or it was. And other people on our same flight, there were a lot of athletes on our flight. Other people on the same flight showed up at the gate like as they were preparing to close the doors. It was pretty tight.
Yeah.
But on the flight, I credit to British Airways. While I was in the air, I got an email from British Airways notifying me that my bike, did not make the flight. and with instructions on what to do when we landed. So when we landed, it told us to go find a British Airways agent. And of course, there wasn't any. And I think that was like the first bit of confusion for a lot of people is like, there's no airline agents. It's all like one window with one poor guy manning it for all these people who are flying in and whose bikes did not make their flights.
Yeah, I
But
think
mine was there later that night. They had told us they were going to deliver the bike, and that was another miss is they didn't. So we ended up seeing the AirTag at the airport, not moving. Luckily had a rental car and drove up there to get it. And I heard kind of the same story from a lot of people where they were told it would be delivered to their hotel and it never did. So they went to the airport to collect it. But I did hear firsthand from a few people, not just like rumor and hearsay, their bikes got on a van and then delivered to like some central location.
yeah,
But
yeah. So
then they never told them where it was or where to pick it up or how.
yeah, I can that's what the situation was with one of my girls, so I can definitely elaborate on that.
Yeah.
So definitely if you're traveling with your bike and you don't have an air tag in your bike, like you're missing out. Like you have to do that. You have to. But
You have to
yeah,
after this weekend and there are people, to be clear, there are people, this race was, what day is today? Today's Monday. This race happened 1 week and 2 days ago. Most people flew back a week ago today, right? There are still people who do not have their bikes.
correct. Yep. So one of my girls and her husband, we all flew into Madrid, and then they flew Madrid direct to Malaga. We had some other stuff we had to do because we didn't book in time, which actually turned out to be great because they only had about a 50-minute layover in Madrid. Their bike did not make it to Malaga. So basically they were able to pull out the air tag, see that it was still there, see that it didn't make it, called airlines, could not get a single bit of an answer. Finally, they saw nobody called them, no contact. And this is on Iberia, because at that point, we flew American. American turned it over to Iberia.
Yeah.
So Iberia was incredibly poor with communication. So the only reason they knew that it got to Malaga was because they were able to see the air tag moving down the highway eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And so they saw that it got to Malaga and they said, hey, we're going to get an Uber to the airport and go. And so they got to the airport and they could see that literally the bike was like just on the other side of the wall, like 40 feet away. And they would not give them their bike. So they're like, it's going to be loaded up. They would not give them their bike. My thought is like, at that point, like that's my personal property there. You're not turning it over. It's been delayed. Like it's theft at this point. That's a different story. So basically they were like, it's getting loaded up on a truck and it will be delivered to you later today, finally. So they're like, okay, fine. Well, then they come back, they get a phone call at like, they're trying to track it, wondering when it's going to happen. They get a phone call at like 2:00 from the delivery drivers of the truck with all these bikes on it. And they're like, oh, we're out of time. We can't deliver your bike to you. So they had to go and pick it up. But the thing is, if they had not had an air tag, they would have not known that it had left Madrid. They would have not known that it was out and about in town via a truck. They would have had no idea what was going on with their bicycle if it wasn't for the air tag. And so they would have, who knows where they could have been, what was going on. They could have randomly gotten a phone call, hey, come pick up your bike. And it's like, well, we're 2 hours away, And so it was at a point where like, if we don't have your bike by 2:30, we're just going to adjust my bike. You're going to ride it Saturday. And then I will adjust it back when we pick it up out of transition and I will ride it Sunday. But it was pretty disappointing, the lack of communication for sure.
Yeah, it seems like there was some common threads too with the problems people were having at least on the inbound side. Iberia and Lufthansa seemed to have more problems than other airlines, and people who flew through Madrid seemed to have more problems than people who flew through other cities. Just like my casual observations of everything I saw. I was very worried about our return flight because we also booked through American, living in Philly, which is an American hub, and pretty much it's American or bust out of Philly. It's like, I think American has 5 terminals and then they shoehorn every other airline into one. But yeah, it was Iberia to Madrid and then Madrid direct to Philly. And so I had actually tried to modify our flight because we had the rental car. I'm like, well, why don't we just drive to Madrid, till the Iberia leg, and we'll just get on there and avoid like this whole hassle with Madrid. And the airline wanted $2,000 per ticket to make the modification. I'm like, you want to charge me more for a seat I already have on that plane so that I can not fly a leg. And they're like, well, we have to cancel the ticket and rebook it. I'm like, are you kidding? And, this is with like their top tier status and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you really seriously? Come on, this isn't that hard. I just want to get on here instead of there. I didn't expect it to be zero, but I expected it not to be $5,000 to change
Yeah,
two seats.
for sure.
But my bike made it. On our flight back to Philly, it seemed like the hard cases made it and the soft cases did not. Because there was plenty of athletes on our flight who didn't. Some we were in, we knew them through other groups, and they had soft cases, and theirs didn't make it. But yeah, I was a little bit worried flying with Iberia, but totally mirror your statement. If you are flying anywhere and you don't have an AirTag or a tracker of some sort in your bags, then you should.
Yeah, absolutely. And the battery is replaceable. Like you can take the AirTag apart, put a new battery in when it wears out. Like
Yeah,
it is
and
such a good investment
the battery
to make
lasts.
sure you know where your stuff is. Oh, absolutely. If not
Yeah,
if not longer, right? It's silly to not have one, you know? So yeah, if you're traveling internationally, you don't have one, like fix that right away.
yeah. There are 2 AirTags in my bike box. There's I forget the name of the company. It's not an Apple AirTag, but it works with Find My. So it's pings just like an AirTag does, but it's made by another company.
Okay.
It's made for your bike to fit between a bottle and the frame. I have one of those in my bike box Allen that's like double-sided sticky taped to it. And then I have an AirTag somewhere else.
Yeah. I love
And
it.
I was watching the 2 of those ping because that other one has a stronger signal. That one pings at airports a lot faster than the AirTag does.
Okay.
And I think it's probably just because of where it is. Like the other one has to go through carbon fiber and this one doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was sitting there watching my bike move through the various airports and like, thank you for making the flight. But I know people who flew the same day who still don't. And they do have AirTags. And they're like the bike is still sitting there in Malaga Airport, chilling out with its best friends.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw the videos of like the lines Monday morning of people at the airport trying to check in, and it was atrocious. It was so bad.
I am so glad that we were on like the first flight out of Dodge and that we got there at like 4:50 in the morning. We were like third in line, and it
Yeah.
still first, like they started checking people in 2.5 hours early, which they were like, oh, we're giving you this gift of allowing you to check in earlier than normal. And it still took us 45 minutes, even though there was only like 2 people in front of us in line for the agent to check us in. It was as if they'd never checked people into an airline before.
Yeah, it was definitely odd. I think that's to say the least. Felt like they were looking at people like, "Why do you have all these bikes?" It was like did they not know how bad it was going to be, or I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, I find it hard to imagine that Ironman, who's been doing this for a long time, did not give heads up to the airport.
That is
But
my thought.
there was a breakdown somewhere, whether it was maybe they didn't this time, which doesn't seem likely, or like the airport didn't really expect as many bikes. I'm like, this is probably 14,000-ish people that don't normally go through the airport, half of which are bringing a bike.
Yep. 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 It was a mess. I felt very thankful again to just not have any issues with my bicycle. That's for sure.
I did see some people. So for us, I saw the AirTag. We went to the airport, showed it to them on the phone, and we gave them the claim number from BA. And they 10 minutes later, my bike popped out. But I saw some people saw their bike was there and they bought a ticket so they could get to baggage claim to, they bought a cheap flight so they could get into the secure area so they could get their bike from baggage claim. Could you imagine?
Absolutely not.
I
That's bonkers.
Yeah, and the baggage claim was weird. Like on the one hand, it's not publicly accessible. I'm like, that's great because like no rando can come in and take your bags. But all the bikes are sitting on the other side of that door and you can see them and they won't give them to you.
Yeah.
I want my
Yeah.
bike.
It was definitely, yeah, it was, again, I felt very lucky and I felt very bad because people were having significant issues trying to get their bicycles. Like it was bad. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in years of racing.
And it looked like even on race day, there were still bikes in bike boxes sitting there waiting to be claimed.
Just, yeah,
Anyone
not
who's
good.
Yeah, anyone who wasn't able to race because they didn't have their bike, I mean, I feel horrible for those people. I hope everyone was able to get a rental if their bike didn't make an appearance.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see. There had to be some people that weren't able to race because they didn't have their bike, I'm gonna guess.
I'd be surprised if they weren't because, you know, the bike rental places, they were all fully booked well ahead of time. So the
Yep.
fact that they had any that they could rent that day was kind of amazing. I did see a lot of notes go out in like Facebook and elsewhere of like, hey, my bike didn't show up. Could I borrow someone's bike?
Yep.
But even then, it's like most women tend to have smaller frames. So you wouldn't think that there's probably a lot of cross, but maybe there is.
It was bad.
So
It was
I
bad.
come back to, I thought it was a great race, but the logistics around it needed a lot of help.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It was a great race. You know, the question is like, would I go back and do it again? It was cool. Like if I was going to be in Europe for like a couple months and was like doing a bunch of races in Europe and I could drive to it, sure. Or like catch an easy flight, maybe. But I don't know. I don't
Hey,
know. It was,
next time we fly to Heathrow and drive, I'm
I
like,
don't know. Ma.
at least then, yeah. Although, you know, I saw a lot of people flew into Madrid and then took the high speed train, and I think that's the way to do it. Like
So
avoid Malaga altogether.
we tried to take the high speed train back and it looked like we weren't going to be able to get the bike bag on it
I heard that.
because of the size. So we did not end up, that was part of some flight stuff we changed around trying to sort out because we could, the bike bag is too big or was too big to take on the high speed. Because that would have
Yeah,
made the 6-7 hour car ride like 2:45.
yeah. I saw reports that people were allowed to bring the bike bags on, even though like when you look at their website, the dimension was too
Yeah,
big.
that would have been
'Cause
nice.
I had the same thought. We were originally going to fly to Madrid, and when I looked at the train, we had the same thing. We're like, it's too big.
Yeah,
I don't.
interesting.
It seems like that was loosely enforced.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that would have been, yeah, that would have been nice because we ended up having to spend a significant amount of extra money to try and get a flight that wasn't a small plane where my wife would get sick.
oh
And
yeah,
we
yeah,
thought we weren't going to get home, so that's a different story.
yeah.
We're only out a couple hundred extra dollars and a decent number of miles, but that is my wife didn't get sick on the plane, so that's an important
But you
thing.
had your bike for your race, and it made it home with you.
Yes, absolutely. And I have to give
So,
her a hard time when I have a chance, so I'm going to continue to do that.
so
But yes, everything.
you thought the podcast was the right place to give your wife a hard time?
Absolutely, because now it's like it's locked in here, and if she ever sees it, like it's gonna be there's evidence, like you gave me grief, and now it's locked
Yeah.
in. I can't pretend it didn't happen.
Well, now she has to listen.
Exactly. Now she has to listen. We got to get the views up or the
Yeah,
downloads up.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know, it's been stuck at 10,000 a day for a while, so we need to get it to
Yeah,
pull up a bit.
10,001.
10,001, yeah. 2,
No,
3, 4.
sorry, and I do want to say, like, I did think there were some logistical issues, right? Like the course was funny, but we had a great time. I
Yeah,
loved it. If somebody has interest in going to that area, there is a 70.3 there that is there every year, I believe in October. It just doesn't go through the town of Ohen. Like it, where we went through, forked off and went and did little switchbacks. It just goes straight out, does that little spur out and back. I would say if someone's in that area, they should do the
so
race. It's a great one.
if you're not looking at the course map, you can read that as it has less elevation to the tune of
Yeah,
2,000.
yeah, it's got less climbing. Definitely less
Yeah,
climbing. Yes.
lot less climbing. No, I actually was curious. John and I were talking, we're like, well, you know, maybe we should do that race just to see what the difference is. And then with all of this like flight and bike fiasco,
Yeah.
I was like, nah, maybe not. But on the other hand, I mean, this was a 2-day event. I mean, they had the same problems that caused Kona to be like, no, we're not going to do a 2-day event, right? Except, they did it anyways. Now we all have to live with that.
Hey, and sorry, I feel like my brain is spinning because something I think is really important to mention for the bike course, and I don't want to like keep belaboring things, but like the bike course was closed entirely. Can we just toss out the fact that
Yes,
that
that
was
was great.
they shut down the roads entirely for the bike course. You did not have a single car pass you, and it was fantastic.
There was one other thing too. Like, not only was it shut down, but there was a lot of refs.
Yes, absolutely. I thought that was amazing to have that so shut down, and then definitely lots of refs everywhere.
Yeah. I think that I think that might be the first course I've done with Ironman where it was completely shut down. So
So good.
even it's not completely shut down. It's mostly shut down, but it's not completely shut down. And there were, unsurprisingly, there were some guys who, at least during the women's race, there were some guys, I don't know if they were athletes or locals or what, who did pop into the course with the women, and they did a fantastic job of kicking their ass off the course.
Heck yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I did see that twice while I was on there. And I don't know if there were a lot of refs or what, because I feel like I kept seeing the same one repeatedly, but they were all over the place. That
Yeah.
said, I didn't see them giving out a lot of penalties for drafting. I heard of some people getting penalties for drafting in weird places, like going uphill, which doesn't seem right to get a drafting penalty when you're going 4 miles an hour up a big climb. But I mean, they were out there. I
Yep.
saw them
Yep.
give some. I did see them give some warnings of people to kind of separate, but I didn't see any. Didn't see any penalties given out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was any different on the men's course.
Like the first, as you're going up, like that first big climb, like they definitely like, I mean, people were spread out, but again, you're going like, yeah, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour. And they're like waving their fingers at everybody. And I'm pretty adamant about not drafting. And I was like, I want to be like, yo, we're going up like literally 6, 7 miles per hour right now, like like all the gear, the easiest gear we've got, like, and then I see like a pack of people drafting, like you go all the way out to the end, turn around, coming back in. I see a huge pack of people, and I'm like, where's the referee now? Like you could probably give 15 penalties plus in that group right there.
Yeah.
But to come and like wag a finger on the climbs when you're going like that slow, like there's only so much space. I thought that was like I wanted to yell out like, "Do you even know what you're doing?" But I figured that's probably not the best idea.
Probably
I
not
probably
the
yeah,
probably not the right place to have that commentary.
I
See,
wouldn't have probably
I
said it that nicely either, but whatever.
probably not. See, I'm firmly of the opinion that the entire pointy end, if not the entire field, but at least the entire pointy end of the age group field should have Race Ranger.
Yeah,
Like
I don't see why not. Absolutely.
when Race Ranger first came out, I was like, this is technology. Do we really need this technology? 3 years later, 2 years later, I'm like, everybody should have this.
Yeah, I think it would be good, but yeah, the climbs there are a different story for sure.
But
Especially
yeah,
that first one early on while it's still, settling
yeah.
out.
Well, and that first one's like an average of like 9%. It's like, these are not like, it's 2, 3, 4%. Like these are like, I mean, they're not the worst in the world, but I mean, they're not trivial either.
Yeah. You're not speeding up them.
Right. And like that climb out of Owen, that's that 12%.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant.
Slow.
I did see, I felt that I did see a handful of people who opted to walk their bike up some of those climbs. I was like, dear, where are you planning to remount your bike?
I did not see any of that from where I was, thankfully, but that doesn't entirely surprise me.
Yeah. That's when you're like, are you okay? Because that's not normal. But it happened. It does happen.
Yeah,
And I
for
get the
sure.
thought, like after you've been doing that for an hour, it's like, I really don't want to be doing this any longer. And, it's really intimidating. It was really, at least for me, It was really intimidating. You come down that, you climb out of town, and then it's like a nice kind of ride down, a couple switchbacks, nothing
Yep.
serious, get some speed. And then you look up in front of you and you see a wall of switchbacks. And it's kind of, you're like, crap, I have to climb that. And then you get like halfway up it and you see the rest because you think you're almost at the top and you're not. And it seems to get steeper. And you're like, oh, crap, I have to do that. That sucks.
Yep. Again, the benefit of getting to go out and having ridden it on Thursday was knowing, okay, this is a climb. Like, I know I really need to pace this and don't do anything stupid. So,
Well, and I think like for me, part of not doing that, it was a conscious decision not to do that, but I was going to drive it, which is not the same, but is better than nothing.
for sure.
But then, I end up with like, you've got 50,000 invites to 20,000 different events and like picking and choosing which ones you're going to go to. And it's always like an impossible task. It's like balancing like the social aspect of the sport with the like, hey, I'm an athlete and I'm trying to get this done.
Yep, absolutely. There's so much going on that you can do.
All right. Well, we covered a bunch of bases. What didn't we cover?
I drank a lot of wine.
You drank a lot of wine?
No, we had a very good time. I mean, I thought it was a great area. Yeah, there's good food everywhere, wine everywhere, beautiful scenery,
You see,
sunrise, sunset.
that's what was so frustrating about the banquet is like we're in the Mediterranean, we're in Spain. There's so much amazing food. And this is what you gave us.
Well, and it wasn't like close to anything. If you couldn't walk to it from the athlete village, right? Like I thought that was definitely a miss too.
Yeah. And, even the bus drivers didn't quite know where they were going. We ended up like the bus that I was on ended up driving through like this dirt parking lot, making a U-turn, nearly running over half the cars in the parking lot to make the U-turn just to come into the other side. I think we were on the bus for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, which is
For-
crazy.
For what was, I think it was only like a 3-mile ride. It was kind of great. All right. Well, there you have it. Another world championship course in the books. We've talked about Kona, Nice, and now both the men's and women's races at Marbella. I think this brings for most of us the season to the close. Before we end, my question for you, Thomas, is what's your next race?
Ideally, it will be Gulf Coast 70.3, but it's definitely Lake Placid. So we'll see. Hopefully it'll be Gulf Coast. Maybe try and sneak out to Coeur d'Alene. I don't know. We're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out too, but I will definitely be in Lake Placid again. And you're going to be racing this year, not giving everyone a hard time while getting massage on the side of the road, right?
And listen, I did a trainer ride on the side of the road in the rain while people were racing. No, yeah, hopefully. I mean, I was supposed to race last year.
I know.
And or this year. Hopefully I'll get to race next year. That's the plan. So we'll see. We'll keep the fingers crossed that I'm healthy for the start line.
All right. Well, fingers crossed for your health, for all of our health.
And we'll see you
And
there.
for everyone listening, have a great winter training in your basements and stay tuned for our next episode. If you liked this one, please subscribe and obviously share with your friends, and we'll see you next time. All right. Thank you, Thomas.
Absolutely.
Always so fresh, delicious, and nutritious, Eggland's Best Eggs fuel the body with 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, and 25% less saturated fat compared to ordinary eggs. Visit egglandsbest.com to learn more.